What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so want to give a big shout out to the New York Knicks on a renaissance season and the hot streak that they've been on. The boys are back in town, definitely. Last night they defeated the Boston Celtics 131 to 129. Although Jason Tatum led all scorers with 40 points, it was one Emmanuel Quickly who stole the show, having a career game, dropping 38 points. 38 points last night, and helping lead the way for the New York Knicks. Though it wasn't just him, R.J. Barrett had 29 points, 11 rebounds. Julius Randle, who's actually statistically having a better season than he did when he was briefly an MVP candidate 2 years ago. 31 points and 9 rebounds. And Mitchell Robinson had a double-double with, I believe, 13 points and 14 rebounds. The Knicks, this is, I believe, the second time I've been informed. This is the second time they've beaten the Boston Celtics this year. And they are now winners of 9 straight games. 9 straight games. They're now currently the hottest team in the NBA. And they stand in 5th place, and only 1 game behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is the beautiful thing I like about the NBA. It's around the time we get closer to the playoffs and into the playoffs. And it seems like every year there's one team that after the postseason makes a run that you just don't see. Remember a couple of years ago, I think it was 2018-19. Remember the Orlando Magic, who were a mediocre team, if not subpar team, before the All-Star break? They went on a run in the second half. They had the number 1 ranked defense in the NBA. In the second half of the season. Remember, they ended the season like on a 11 or 13 game winning streak. They were the hottest team in the NBA, and they were a tough out for the eventual champion, Toronto Raptors, I believe was in the first round. So a lot of times you just don't know what's going to happen. And that's what makes basketball special. The one thing about basketball that's different than other sports is that as great as Tom Brady is, or as great as Patrick Mahomes is, great as Peyton Manning was, I guess I should be using the past tense for Tom Brady too now. As great as these players are or were, and they can definitely have an impact on the game, most definitely. It's more difficult for a player to have an impact on a game that has an 100-yard field than it is for a great player to have an impact on a 94-foot court. You know, a great player can impact the game even more so. That's why, as great as these quarterbacks are, if they have a mediocre offensive line and mediocre, receivers and mediocre special teams, they're never really going to win. Whereas if you're a great player on a mediocre team, as Kobe Bryant proved, you could at least take your team to the playoffs. But, you know, the New York Knicks, I just did a little bit of research. They are, I believe, a top 10 defensive team in the NBA. Excuse me. They're a top 10 defensive team in the NBA. They're top 3 in rebounding. And they're approaching the top 10 in scoring and offensive efficiency. So that makes for a team that, when you factor in all those things, they're a great team. And this is a Tom Thibodeau team, so of course they lead the NBA in minutes played. Because you know Tom can run his players into the ground if he's not careful. The Knicks, I think, will be a danger in the postseason, and it's always a great thing to have New York in the playoffs. You know, back in the 90s, a down year for the Knicks would be like a 46-36 season. You know, maybe the 8th seed or 7th seed. That was a down year for the Knicks in the 90s. A down year. Perish the thought of a year where they go 17-65, which I think they did some years ago or something like that, right? So it's good to see the Knicks back in the mix of things. Shout out to my brother Jason Lindsay. I know that he will enjoy this playoff run. I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes, man, when your team sucks for so long, you just stop caring. You just stop caring about who's on the roster, what moves the team made. They're still your team, but you really just kind of live in the past. And that's what happened to me with Chicago. I see issues with the Bulls, the same issues. They don't get corrected. We have talent on the team, but they play beneath their pay grade. They play beneath their potential, and it's frustrating. But anyway, shout out to a team that really wants to win right now, the New York Knicks.